This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
Electricast.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Claudia Monticelli, the host of this podcast, Let's Talk Soul. Today I have with me Bob Ridge, who actually was on this show years ago. Bob, say hello to our audience.
Oh, I'm delighted to be with you. Claudia, it's wonderful.
Bob is still talking to us from Victoria, Australia. First, let me introduce him. 6 of his 20 published books have won awards. He has retired 5 times so far, but still is going strong as a professional grandfather. Everything he does, including his writing, is working toward a survivable future for youngsters, and one worth surviving in. He carries on much of this work at his popular blog, Bobbing Around, and I will include that in the description of the episode. He discovered that he was a Buddhist at 23 years of age when a Christian minister of religion told him, given his scientific training, he wanted to check this claim. Unfortunately, his time machine was in for service, so he couldn't use the internet. So he decided to spend a day in the university library to check up on this claim. And to his surprise, found his philosophy set out in beautiful words. He decided not to sue the Buddha for plagiarism as an act of metta or loving kindness. Bob, like you mentioned to me, we can talk about absolutely anything. But first, I want to say 20 books is not a small feat. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. And actually, a slight correction, 7 books have won awards. My latest book, which is The Whole in Your Life, Grief and Bereavement, which in response to my daughter's death, has won an award in last June.
Oh, how nice. Very nice.
Well, it was published in June. 1st of June, it was published. Won an award a few months later.
So this is...
And...
Yes.
You were saying, talk about the other side of death. I don't believe anything because of the handicap of a scientific training, but go with the evidence. And there is surprisingly strong evidence, which I've set out on my blog, that there is indeed existence before birth and after death, and we come again and again.
I see.
And this is not a belief, but my best summary of the evidence.
Okay.
But there is also some personal...
Yes?
There's also some personal experiences. The medically estimated time of my daughter's death, her mother and her brother, several thousand miles apart, felt somebody hug them.
I see.
When she was in palliative care, she told us she would turn our washing water purple. And indeed, the first time we washed clothes, the water was a bright, like diluted beetroot juice.
Wow.
And a white tablecloth in the wash wasn't stained. So it was her.
Now, what can we talk about what happens after death? and in between lives, according to your experience?
Apart from actually dying yourself, it's always a theory. It stays a theory until you check it out personally. But there is a lot of evidence from testable cases of clinical death when somebody dies and comes back, and some of them are able to make testable claims, and those claims have been found to be correct. There is a man who has done decades of research on this, and I cite extensively from his paper at my blog. I think the paper is called The Other Side of Death. If you go to Bobbing Around and you enter The Other Side of Death in the search slot, it will come up.
Okay.
I could give you the link, but it would be rather complex. So that's the simplest way. Incidentally, I have a contacts form there, and anybody is welcome to contact me. It's private.
There's another quote that you wrote me. You wrote, "Life is too short for the seriousness it deserves."
I'm a grumpy old man, and I can prove that other people have a sense of humor. I don't. I can prove other people can have a sense of humor because they laugh at what I say, what they say and write. Not everything. My current work is not exactly, it's the true history of what I'm working on now is the true history of the world. And it's pretty grim.
Ah. And what?
But I'm an obedient scribe. I write down what the characters in my computer tell me.
I see. What is your definition of grim?
Well, 12,000 years ago, a monster came to Earth. We know him as the devil and Satan, various names like that. The Buddha encountered him, and in the Theravadan tradition, he's called Mara, and in the Tibetan tradition, he's called Budud, and both are correct. That's his name. And indeed, when he turned up to kill the Buddha just before his enlightenment, the Buddha invited him for a cup of tea and talked him out of killing him. But anyway, that's still to come. It's not yet published. But what happens between lives? It seems that the evidence that people at first go to whatever they expect. For an atheist, that might be complete darkness. For a Catholic, it might be St. Peter at the gates. Or one of my clients vividly remembers sitting on a log outside his grandfather's house, and grandfather was 30 years old, not an old man like when he died. And he put his arm around her and said, "You've got to go back." And she was trapped in a car, completely smashed up, and noise of the machine and in her body restarted, and she came back to life. Now, that's the kind of thing that happens. But, for example, one person had his heart stop on the operating table, and he saw his mother in the waiting room smoking the first cigarette of her life from worry. And afterward, when he was brought back, he found out that, in fact, she had smoked a cigarette then. And another man, while completely anesthetized, saw the surgeon flap his arm like a chicken's wings. And in fact, the surgeon had done so for some reason. And there are many examples like that. Anyway, time belongs to the material universe. There is no time when you've died. All the same, you get through the initial illusion, and it appears that you face a superior person, which may be a enlightened spirit doing a service, or God, or an angel, or who knows. But it's a person who holds you with complete unconditional love and doesn't judge you, but leads you through your life from death to birth, and to experience what other people felt in response to you. So if I were rude to you now, after I died, I'd experience your anger and perhaps want to make restitution for it.
I see.
And on the basis of this, I choose to a new life, maybe immediately, maybe hundreds of years in the future. And then I'm faced with the choices that you chose to face. That's what the evidence indicates.
I see. Let's move to the incidents around your daughter's death. When did that occur?
In December 2024, and I miss her every day, but I'm grieving almost immediately. And as part of the process, I've completed a book on grieving, which, as I said, is the whole in life.
Can you tell us
Grief
the
and
title
bereavement.
again? Tell us the title again, please.
The whole in your life, the whole in your life,
Good.
grief and bereavement. It so happens it's received lots of good reviews, but many of the people who reviewed it refused to shop it down as a political statement. There are not that many on Amazon.
I see. I'm going to split hairs here, but the subtitle, Grief and Bereavement. What is the distinction? What is the distinguish between those two?
If you and I played a friendly game of chess and you beat me,
Yes.
I might, probably wouldn't, but I might suffer a few seconds of, oh, gee, I was stupid, or something like that.
Yes.
At the other extreme is bereavement, when you lost, or a divorce. You might be grieving over a divorce, or a serious stroke where you lost so much, or a loved person going demented, where they become incontinent and all sorts of horrible things. And that's grief, but it's not bereavement. Bereavement is when somebody dies that had an important place in your life.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
This episode is brought to you by San Pellegrino Ciao. A gift from Italy to your home. San Pellegrino Ciao is a flavored sparkling water made with real fruit juice, finished with a pinch of Sicilian salt for a perfectly balanced taste. So which flavor will you choose? Peach, lime, blood orange, cherry, or maybe the all-new limoncello? Crafted in Italy with 0 grams of added sugar. San Pellegrino Ciao. Buy it now.
Yes. Yes. Can you talk a little bit more about how the book is organized?
It was originally organized around a couple, and they were perhaps the greatest joys of my counseling psychology practice over decades. They were referred for being suicidal by 2 separate doctors. And when I found out they were a separated couple, I offered to refer one of them on, but they declined. So I saw them for 9 sessions each, and then 3 sessions together, at the other end of which they came together as a couple again.
Interesting.
In effect, they remarried. I won't say what the problem was, but she was a little careless, and he was a bit slapdash, and
Is
as a
that me?
result, their infant
Sorry?
son died. Well, he was careless,
Karen.
and she was a little bit neglectful,
Uh-huh.
and as a horrible consequence, their little son died. I won't say what happened, but
Okay.
the book was built around them. And then when my daughter was diagnosed with cancer, I rewrote the book with a second focus. As well as following them through their healing, I also followed my progress through with my daughter. By the time she died, the book was practically finished, and I sent it off to my publisher. And like I said, it was published 6 months later. And so, if you like, it has two skeletons. There's this young couple whom I call Jim and Margaret. It's not their real name.
Yeah.
And I've got their permission to include their story, but they're completely unidentifiable. And my story of how I cope with my daughter's death. And it offers tools for handling anything when your world falls apart.
Bob, can you, if you don't mind, tell me how old your daughter was when she was diagnosed with cancer? So she left behind a family? Did she have her own family?
No, she chose to be child-free early on, but she was the perfect auntie. There are many people who miss her. And she was an accountant by training, but chose to be a business counselor, if you like. And one man who became a close friend retired with several $100,000 more than he would have without her.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Was this one of the greatest pains in your life? Cause for bereavement?
My daughter died in the year 2000. I'd visited her a few weeks before and brought home a lot of material. And I couldn't even look at it for 2 years. Then I wrote it, and the book, her biography, is the one that won the most awards. It's the best book, probably. It's Oniko, The Stranger Who Loved Me.
Bob,
But
did I understand correctly?
a few days after my daughter died,
Have I understood correctly that you lost another daughter in the year 2000?
My mother.
Okay, good. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah. That was when I was still a pretty inexperienced therapist. So now I handled it much better. And I can joke, I can carry on with life. She's left a hole in my life, but it's okay. I fully processed my grief by the time she died.
Okay.
It would have been harder if she'd been hit by a car or something, but...
Definitely. Can I ask you, of all the books you have written, which is the one most dear to you?
Oh, you're asking me to choose between my children? That's not fair.
Yes, I know. Sophie's choice.
I love them all.
Yeah.
Writing fiction is the chocolate icing on the cake of life.
Yes.
But I can be of more service by writing self-help nonfiction.
Yes.
Like this, like The Hole in Your Life, and the book before that, From Depression to Contentment, which is a course of therapy in your pocket.
Oh, can we talk about that?
And the Dalai Lama has said, my religion is kindness. The aim of enlightenment is to be of service. And you wanted to know about the meaning of life. Yes. The meaning of life is to progress toward enlightenment. We're all apprentice Buddhas, apprentice Jesuses. And the way to be an apprentice is to do your best to be like a master. So I do my best to be of service.
You're saying, just I'm summarizing, the meaning of life is to move towards enlightenment, correct?
Yep,
Okay. In one of the statements,
it's not power or wealth or fame. It's progress toward enlightenment.
Mhm.
All that matters is what you leave, what you take with you in your heart, and what you leave in the hearts of others. Everything else is monopoly money.
Can you give me a precise example, perhaps one of your examples, one of your clients' examples of a move toward enlightenment? A concrete example.
Oh, forgiveness. Actually, all the tools, highly researched tools of positive psychology are movements towards enlightenment, which is
Yes.
why they work.
And the tools you mentioned,
Forgiveness,
forgiveness.
it's the greatest step toward enlightenment.
I see.
If you forgive even the monsters of this world,
Yes. Yes.
genuinely, not pretending.
Yes. In one statement you wrote to me, the joys of your life, you listed regular meditation, saying that your wife accuses you of going to sleep instead. That gives me a window into your wife. She seems to be quite different from you.
Yes, she is very creative. When I was 23 years old, I was a lost puppy looking for a home, and she took me home for Christmas to introduce me to her older sister. And the sister only had a spare room in the baby's room. And the baby started crying in the middle of the night, and I changed her. And I found some milk in the fridge, and I warmed it up, and I gave her the bottle. And when I wanted to put her down, she clung to me. So I kept her with me. And in the morning, there were two female voices, one saying, she didn't cry all night. And the other one said, I think I'll keep this fellow. And I was on the short list for the Rhodes Scholarship in those days. And I said, if I get my scholarship. And she said, then I'll go with you. So she's been with me since. But she's more a leader than a follower. But she rescued me off the streets.
And I'm going to jump into another.
I tell people
You were rescued.
Yes.
You were rescued from a life of debauchery from your wife off the streets.
No, from loneliness. I used to be, this was before there were headphones. Once I was a graduate student, I could afford to buy a record player. And I bought Beethoven's Pathetic Sonata on one side and a Appassionata on the other. And I used to put the speakers right to my ears and play it. Of course, I wanted passion in my life, and I didn't have any. I felt pathetic. So that's a vital spoke to me.
When I introduced you, I mentioned Buddhism. Did your wife in any way subscribe to that or followed you in that?
No, at the time when I met her, she was in the Dutch Presbyterian Church. She'd recently arrived from Holland to help her elder sister, who had a little boy and was having a baby, wanted to marry in her church. So the minister interviewed me, Mr. Cutt, and he was the one who told me I was a Buddhist and he was willing to marry me in his church. And then I checked up on his claim. And so I've been a Buddhist from before that and since.
I see. Like you said, like you've written to me, I can talk about absolutely everything. But I have the impression from this brief talk that what you could talk about is very well laid out in your books, Bob. So, what I'm going to ask you now is if you had one thing to say to our audience before we end this episode, what would that be?
Already said it. All that matters is what you take with you when you die in your heart and what you leave in the hearts of others. Everything else is monopoly money. Fame, wealth, power
Yes.
is all monopoly money.
Yeah.
You can't take it with you.
Monopoly.
All you can take with you is love.
Yeah. Monopoly money will not get you anywhere. Thank you so much, Bob, for taking the time to come on my show again. I really appreciate your time, and I will write all of your details to describe the episode so people can contact you directly. Thanks again for coming.
Thank you. It's been lovely chatting with you, and my pleasure. And
thank you for listening. Don't forget to follow Let's Talk Soul podcast on Instagram. Let's Talk Soul podcast is a production of Electrocast Media. Our executive producers are Mark Netter and Peter Rafelson. If you like our show and like what you hear, please subscribe and give us a rating wherever you enjoy podcasts. And remember, stay curious, stay inspired, and never stop exploring the depths of your soul.